Okay. I think this is the right one. Okay. All right, so here's mine. I guess I'll hit run first, and while that's like loading, talk about it. I haven't done anything super crazy in terms of like other stuff that like we haven't talked about in class, but I have it up to increment 9 with the, okay, here, oh, it's almost done.
Did your folder have 2 projects in it? Some people sent me increment 8 and increment 9.
Yeah, it looked like it did have 2.
Okay. Well, then you choose the one that you want.
Okay, yeah. So I think this is the right one. You can see here in the console, the model prints out like what my secret word is. And for that, I looked up like how to randomize. So I made a variable secret word and I made it an array of colors. And then there's this dot random element, and my colors is a symbolic constant of the array. It's like all of those colors right there. So it picks random elements, and then it makes you add this. I don't know if any of you also found the random element, but it makes you add this, like, because I guess it's saying if it finds a nil value, then it makes it white. It's like a fail-safe, even though none of the values and colors are nil. But so that randomizes that secret word. And then it won't let me click anything if nothing is selected. And then once I select something, it won't let me go above the first row. And I can go make the color go back to nil. And then once I hit enter, then it'll let me go to the next one. So that's all working good. But yeah, I have one function, select color, that gets called from the view when I am selecting on one of these. And that's one of those equal to selected. And that's also where I added this, And so that's that function. And then in change color, that's the function that changes these beads. And that's where I added, where is it? My if the bead is already the color that is selected, then it goes back to nil. That's where that if statement is. And then my next row function is what gets called when the enter function is, when enter is clicked. And that just checks first if if all the rows are full, and then it loops through like that array that we're currently on, and if any of them are nil, then it sets check equal to true, which says that the enter key didn't work because the row isn't full. And then if check never gets set to true, it was initialized to false, and that's where the row gets incremented if they're all full. Yeah, I have my user guesses view. I don't know what else. I guess I could talk about some of my like struggles. I had at one point there was like a really long error that was driving me insane, and it was I talked about it in my journal, but it was a bad access to memory error, and it was just like it would start to run and it would take like 2 minutes to run, and then it would crash and say like bad access to memory, and I could not figure out why. And literally all it was that I was calling this on tap gesture and I didn't have a period in front of it. And that's what it was. I was like, are you serious? Because that feels like a syntax error. But yeah, that's what was causing that. And then I had some trouble with setting these guess beads like to the color that I had selected. I was struggling with getting with passing in the column and the row in the same function, and I don't really know like what I was thinking there, because then it ended up being pretty simple here when I'm initializing each, like, so my guess view is like one circle, and then my guest view row is one row. And so when I'm initializing those, that's when I create like the column indexes, and then I also have a row variable in there, so I can just pass those in both at the same time for that. And then my all guesses puts the 10 rows. But yeah, those are pretty much the two big. Oh, there's also this spacing thing that I looked up, because it was very, like, my stuff on the screen was very spaced out, and so then when I added in that enter key, it was like stuff went off the top of the screen, like you couldn't see it anymore. So I looked up how to like bring things closer together, and it said you can have this like spacing parameter inside your either vstacks or hstacks. And so I just set for in the main content view, when I'm like calling almost all of them, I set the spacing to 0, and then I also did it here because I made my enter key in my colored circles, and then I put the enter key into a VStack with these colored circles like separately, not in the content view, and so I also made spacing 0 there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody has any questions or if there's anything else I should say. Yeah.
No questions?
Looks cool.
Does look cool, from what I can see. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me just do a little stopping of this.
Oh, don't worry, it's different now. Okay, Perry, mid-update. Where is my thing? Okay. Yeah, I can trust and open this. Okay. Is this my guy? This is my guy. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So it's pink, because I love pink. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick demo of it first of all, and then break down the code a little bit. So I'm just gonna go crazy and drop stuff in here. It already has the random generator, just like Kelsey's. I will break down why there's a percentage sign there later, but it does all of the things it needs to do. You can put it in, and then once you fill a row, the square where the pegs will go becomes the enter button. I decided to do it that way just because I feel like it saves me a lot of room on the screen, and because after you click that enter, let's say later on, we put the scoring pegs in there, then it'll populate that square. So then after you click enter, you move on to the next row, whatever. You can do all the things where you can unclick it, and once the row's not full anymore, then you can't enter it. Like you can't enter it. It's only when all 4 are full. You can also change it here, and you can't click anywhere else unless it's the current row, of course. So you can click enter, and then you just keep on going. My favorite part, let me just get there. I'm just gonna throw some random stuff in here. Sorry about this.
I don't think you're gonna get the code.
I don't think I will either, but hey, you never know. You never know. Okay, so this is my favorite part. When you get to the very end and you're about to submit it, what happens is, of course, I don't have whether you win or lose yet, because that's just too much right now. But when you click the very last enter, notice this mastermind box at the top. It reveals the secret code. So it's kind of like it's hiding behind it. And again, it just saves me room on the screen later on. And you can see that in each of these boxes, there's this lighter white circle. That's kind of like the hole where, if this were a physical game, like you'd put it in. You'd put the scoring pegs into it. So that's the demo. A few things to break down. It's very similar to the videos we've gone through, of course, but let's see. We have the random generator somewhere in here. Forgot where we put it. Okay, we're just gonna do this. Okay, here it is. This creates and initializes the secret code, of course. We had an array with an array to be filled, and I'm using the .random in here to basically go through the array and then choose one of the numbers in there and then append it to the secret code. So then later on, we just have an array of the numbers that we then pull from the colors array symbolic constant that is kept in here. So that keeps that. I'm trying to think of something to break down that's interesting. In terms of figuring out the solution, what I call it is the score field, the little square on the left. I just made it its own view file. That is observed, but I don't know why that's tabbed like that. That's fine. But I use these two functions from the model of is current row and then is row full. Those two, if we go into the model, it basically is current row is going to check if this row that I click on is the current one that we're allowed to access. And then is row full is the are there 4 actual colors in there? Because if I don't have the active, they're booleans. If I don't have the active true and I don't have the full true, that means that this enter button will not pop up. So if you don't have all 4 in there, the enter doesn't pop up and you can't click it to then enter and move on to the next row. So you have to have all of them in there. And then something I'm really proud of it's not deep at all, but in terms of putting these 4 circles in a quadrant, whatever, you just do a V stack with 2 H stacks in it and then the 2 circles in it. And that took me a while to figure out, but now that you think about it, it makes sense. And that'll be pretty useful when we're putting the physical scoring in there too, to make sure it's even as well. But it's literally just V stack, 2 H stacks in it. You can tell I have a lot of just insane symbolic constants just because I use a lot of the same sizes for like the size of the circle, corner radius as well. And that reminds me, this field opacity, so I really wanted to do a pastel game. I don't know why, but I just did, and I didn't like how strong the normal colors were. So I looked up how to possibly make a pastel thing, and there's this handy dandy little dot function called opacity, where you can basically change the opacity of a color. So what I did in this colors array is I made each of the 6 colors with opacity 0.5 just to make it a prettier pastel. And because I did that, an error that I realized is that when it says 50% yellow, 50% green, it means it's because it's 0.5 opacity, so it's 50% of yellow or 50% of green. It's not a printing error, it's just the fact that it has opacity. So that took me a hot second to figure out. I thought I had messed up something. No, I just happened to use a tool I didn't realize would print like that. But it definitely does help with making everything, I guess, prettier in a way. You can tell a lot of the stuff I do is for the aesthetic, in terms of the game. But I don't know, I think it's fun to look at it that way. And going off of, so my extra credit presentation, I discussed launch screens, and I used the basic way to do a launch screen. This weekend I had time, so I figured out the storyboard way of a launch screen. So it's basically a different way to pop up with something when the app is loading, and it allows you to customize it fully, put an image on there, expand across the entire screen. So if anybody has any questions about that, I can break that down. But it wasn't too complicated to use the storyboard launch screen, and it's fun. But I'm trying to think of what else is interesting. Also changed the app icon, of course. Other than the enter key on the left, and then my little solution box at the top, which is literally just a rectangle, and then I have another function through the VM, which is through the model of reveal solution. If this is set to true, then the solution can be revealed, and it prints it inside the box. Again, those are literally just simple functions that I had in here. So I had like function is current row, and my VM is row full, that are basically taking a boolean back. And yeah, again, a lot of the functions are very similar to what we've already done in terms of the word game. But yeah, those are my specific things. Does anybody have any? Yeah, sorry, 12 o'clock. Does anybody have any questions? What? Of course I use ChatGPT. Yeah, I used chat to make that image, and then I literally just resized it. But yeah, you could use Canva, you could use anything else, but I'm not that creative.
I think his
So.
face was cooler.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. His face is not very like pink. It would ruin the vibe. I could make it. Yeah, I'll do that next time. Actually, you're right. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I'll try and keep mine a little bit shorter because we're running out of time. Oh, we don't? Cool.
No, take the time you want, and actually that'd be a nice divide, we'll do 3 today and 3 only.
Awesome.
While he's bringing that up, I had a mild brainstorm over here, and it wasn't dangerous, it didn't hurt me. But, hidden in private, I still have the videos of the, final projects from the last time they did this class. And if you want, I can put those, in an accessible place for our playlist. But consider that before you just automatically say yes. If you've got some ideas for bells and whistles and everything, then it might kind of steal your thunder to see all the stuff everybody else did last time, and you might not want to sort of cloud your own direction with that. Who would like to see the videos of the final projects from the last time the class was? Well, okay.
Sure.
My concern was misplaced.
Well,
You can help brainstorm.
I've been
Yeah,
making.
and also, since I'm doing that, and I will do that, and then after that I will let you speak, Mr. Nagle. Since I'm doing that, I know some people have already turned in increment 10. If you brainstorm on top of brainstorm and want to change some of your ideas for increment 10, after you see what they did last time around, then we can do that. I know something fun was there, and I can tell it was a face.
It's a very old picture of Alex. Well, not super old.
Who
I'm
was
glad
it?
you could find it.
Yeah, I
I'm
could.
so glad you found it.
So this is my app. It's up to the point of increment 8. So I believe that's what we were required for this.
Right,
Okay,
yes.
making sure. So one thing, I'm doing 6 right now. I think it looks prettier. Eventually it'll be the full 10. I'm thinking about for visibility. I don't know if I'd like to make it scroll or not, but you gotta think about all that stuff. So of course you can choose all your colors, and the console will tell you way too much information. You choose your color, and then you can put in each little thing. Notice how it's selected. Each individual bubble is selected. There's a function, I'll go into that later. We can enter to go to the next row. The only special thing I have is that if a row is not full, maybe it'll yell at you, row not full. This is not the way I want to do it moving forward. I want to not replace that, because now you can go to the next row and it stays there. But good little intermediate solution. Eventually, I'd like to have it like float over the screen like Wordle does it. I looked at making an alert like most iOS apps do for about 5 minutes before I realized that's a lot to do. It's a lot of code, a lot of hassle just to make a little bubble pop up. So we're gonna work through that another time. But as you can see, you can fill in whatever you like. It always deselects it when you move to the next row. Little funny code there. And once you're up at the top, it used to crash because it would try and go to the next thing, but now it says no more guess. So that's our pretty simple thing there. Going into the code, our view models. Let me move this. Our view model has some of the research I did. Not view model, content view. Sorry, has some of the research I did specifically with what are these state variables, and that's how I'm choosing to show that error message. We basically have an error message show state and a message state. And what that does is that it's basically a simple variable, but with the view model, you have to have state to declare it's the state of the view. And so it's either, if our error bubble says to show, it'll show up with this error bubble message text, which comes from this enter vals function, or tapped on enter function. And that returns a tuple of intervals. And what that means is that I'm returning both a valid Boolean value and an error message string with when I tap on enter. So if we go down into the model here, if we go to I need to abstractify this, but also when I abstractify, I learned that you can't use everything in the model, so I have to change a lot of code in order to do that, but I will do it eventually. So here you just define that you'd want a tuple with both, the name and a type, or you can just have the types and then just index by 1 and 2, but I'd rather not do that. And you return that specified tuple. So if it's true, I don't have an error message, it's just an empty string, but otherwise I'll say it's false and why it's false. So if you got no more guesses, you're at the top of the list, it won't let you go any further, so it tells you no more guesses. And if it's not a full row, it'll do that with that error message saying row not full. And we also check the row being full with a check row full function. I've got a little silly functions trying to abstractify, and yet it's still not enough. Got next row functions, all that kind of jazz, just to kind of say, yeah, go to the next thing. I did learn one thing that I know we were complaining about. I think it's in the guess view. This little warning message that always yells at us saying argument must be an integer literal. It's literally wanting a number there. It goes away if you put 6, but that's stupid. I don't want to put numbers in my code, so not getting rid of that. Other than that, any of the other cool things, of course we have our error bubble. It uses a lot of the enter key stuff. We have our enter key, of course. A lot of this is all using symbolic functions and trying to make sure that everything is abstractified as much as possible. And yet I still have a lot I can change there. One other thing, I had the rows represented in a way that I wasn't sure was going to work, but it hasn't presented any problems yet. If you use the way that they're stored is that instead of going by, it's a self-referential array, the user guess ID is actually the reverse of what it would be. So we have our max guesses -1 minus I, so while the array index is 6 for this row, or 5 actually, it is represented in the code as 0. So thankfully it hasn't broken anything yet, but that means that we have everything kind of reversed and the logic in the code reads as if it should, even though the index arrays are actually different. And then to do the selecting, which obviously I can't do anymore, let me restart it so I can, to do that kind of, hello again, that kind of selecting to see where these are darker there, I have a function, I think it's in the view model, um, called model is segment selected. Not a great name, but that runs every time it tries to display that. It's in the guest view. And it does this big thing here where it says it makes that color guest view, and the is selected is determined by that view model function that turns in that row and the index. And every time it draws that row, it will tell you if it's selected or not and change it based on that. And then we'll change it here actually. So, little thing I did there to make it look pretty. But yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot else. I tried to get other images. The assets were not being nice to me. I don't know why. I could only get you to show up. It's not even showing me my assets. I had a picture of Cole Brannick that isn't working, unfortunately. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have, I think. Question?
I'll add, for future note, don't delete that info thing if you use assets, because I learned the hard way. If you delete that info,
Oh, it doesn't run.
it doesn't run.
I had that because I accidentally moved it somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's evil, but yeah, I'm glad you know that.
I guess moving forward, something I'd like to do is I'd like to include a little settings button and a little info button, especially since I learned how to make things appear using those state variables.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have a little setting thing. I like to make a colorblind mode, and I'd like a little info thing to how to play the game. So moving forward, those are my little plans. And I also like to make a little like shake like Wordle does if you get it wrong. Say no, you can't do that. So yeah. Anything else? Yay.
Ms. Kirkhope, you're welcome to go. I already said you could wait till Wednesday, so your choice.
I'll wait till Wednesday.
Okay. Ms. Catco, could you squeeze yours in and whatever that, I can't tell.
Probably not in 7 minutes.
Oh, okay. Then, thank you very much.
I think we need to do pink.
And cut. That's the